We're going to work problem number 3 from page 476, the integral of x cosine 5x dx. Now, a lot of times in the book, they don't put the argument of cosine or whatever it is in parentheses, but I like for that to be in parentheses so that I know I'm not going to misread it. So I'll go ahead and put those parentheses in there. Now, I'm looking at this problem. It is an integration by parts problem, and I'm thinking this, what I mentioned last week, I-late will give you a clue on what you pick for you. And so I is inverse trig function. There are no inverse trig functions. Go to the L. Logarithmic functions. There are no logarithmic functions. Go to the A. Algebraic functions. Bingo. X is the algebraic function. So it's x times cosine 5x. So I'm going to say that u equals x and du, what's the derivative of x? Dx. That means everything else is dv. dv is cosine 5x dx. V will be the integral of cosine 5x dx. Now, this is a substitution problem. And some of you might have memorized what happens. You've worked so many of them, you just know. Some of you might struggle a little bit with it. If you're struggling with it, I'm going to show the substitution. Now, a lot of times we say U substitution. I've already used U in the problem. I will call it W substitution. So W equals 5x. What is the derivative of W? 5 dW. So for my d, let's see, that's 5 dx, right? That's not dw. 5 dx. So for dx, I can divide both sides by 5. dw over 5 equals dx. That is the same as 1/5 times dw is dx. So for the integral of cosine 5x, I'm going to go ahead and put in my W substitution. V is the integral of cosine W times 1/5 dW. I'm going to factor the 1/5 out. 1/5 times the integral of cosine W dW. What is the integral of cosine W? Sine W. V is 1/5 sine W. And then put what W equals back in. 1/5 sine 5x. So now, back to the original problem. It is going to be U times V. I'm going to write that. U times V minus the integral of V du. So U times V, x times 1/5 sine 5x, x times 1/5 times sine of 5x, minus the integral of V, 1/5 sine 5x, du, and du is dx. All right, so I want to separate this a little bit, separate my thinking work from the problem there. And now I have to do the antiderivative of this. Well, you know what? I'm going to take that 1/5 out. In fact, I'm going to take this 1/5 here and put it in the front. 1/5 x times the sine of 5x minus 1/5 times the integral of the sine of 5x dx. This part is again a W substitution. In fact, the same thing I did over here. I'll maybe skip the details this time. 1/5 x times the sine of 5x minus, okay, pay attention here because I got 1/5 from the first time, and now I'm going to have another 1/5 from the second time I do this integration, this, what I'm calling this W substitution. So when I do the antiderivative of sine 5x, I get another 1/5. And what's the antiderivative of sine? Negative cosine? Negative cosine 5x plus c. There's the answer. You can clean it up a little bit if you like. 1/5 x times the sine of 5x. Now look, I got a negative and another negative, makes a positive, plus 1/25 times the cosine of 5x plus c, and there is my answer to number 3.